Welcome to What's Going On. I'm your host, Colin Michael Joe. We have a really interesting show for you today. Folks, if you're concerned about your wealth and increasing your wealth and passing your wealth from one generation on to the next, you want to pay attention to today's show. It's going to be really interesting. It's for a lot of us, it's going to be inspiring and it might even be transforming as well. It's going to be a really interesting show. My special guest tonight is Ray Lawrence. Ray, welcome to the show. Ray is the owner of Intergenerational Income Corporation, or IGIC, but not a GIC though.
No,
not a GIC.
Far from a GIC.
Okay, all right. So we're talking bigger concept here.
That's right.
Great, Ray. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, you know, we were talking before. You were telling me about intergenerational wealth, and we all, people talk about wealth, and but very few actually talk about intergenerational wealth. And I'm thinking about our conversation, and you were telling me before about the Rockefeller family, and my understanding is their wealth was created back in the 20s and the 30s, and if my memory is correct, they're still a wealthy family today.
That's right.
So there's something going on there.
Absolutely. In fact, in the last depression in the 30s, the Great Depression, when people are jumping out of windows because they're going bankrupt, the stock market crashed, people are selling all the properties and running, there are few families who made a fortune taking advantage of that disaster.
So in the midst of it all, they were making money.
In the midst of all that. And one of those families was Joseph Kennedy, the great-grandfather of the present Kennedys. Okay. Now, he didn't have a pot full of money. He was an Irish immigrant with 8 kids. But with whatever little he had, he was buying up what people were dropping and running away from. Wow. Because he figured things will come back to normal. Price will go back again to the normal price it was.
And then they would cash
And
in?
he would get rich. The man got wealthy, and that wealth trickled down to 4 generations.
Wow.
And one of the key elements in he creating wealth was real estate that he owned. So 90% of the wealthy people around the world have created
90%?
Wealth. 90%, according to Andrew Carnegie, have created wealth through ownership of real estate.
Really? So let me make sure I understand this correctly. So the other 10% make up of hundreds of industries, maybe thousands of industries, but 90% of and that's only 10%.
Yeah.
So 90% of these guys, wow, this is going to be interesting. All right, so tell me more. We're going to talk about real estate today.
Well, we'll talk about finances in general, because if your finances are weak, you cannot afford to own real estate. So it's important to understand money.
Okay.
Most people know how to make money, they don't know how to manage money.
Right. Okay.
Managing time and money are 2 things that most people don't do right.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's fill us in today, because as you said before, in the 20s, people were jumping out of buildings. So hopefully, after they hear this information, people can start jumping for joy.
Absolutely.
Right? So we don't want to create that avalanche of people jumping out of buildings again.
No.
But let's first of all tell me about your company, how it got started, how it came to be, and what do you guys do?
Well, I have been for 40 years in the financial service industry.
40 years?
Since I came into Canada, I got into the financial service industry. It was by accident, but it was a good accident. I was very successful right from the very start. But it took me almost 20 years to recognize all the flaws within the industry.
Oh. So what happened? So for the first 20 years, what was going on?
Well, I was doing what everybody else is doing, selling the products that everyone is selling. But when you're new in any industry, if you're a young doctor, just passed out, you're going to cure everybody. You're going to
You're going to change the world.
Change the world.
Right.
Young engineer, just passed out, you're going to build structures like monumental, wonderful structures. It almost takes you 20 years to learn what's wrong in the field of medicine. It almost takes you 20 years to learn what's wrong in the field of engineering. It took me more than 20 years to learn what's wrong in the field of finances.
Oh, really?
And today, I'm hoping my experience will help others not to make the mistakes that most people make out there.
So it'll save us a 20-year journey.
It was a 20-year journey. And the last 20 years I spent only putting together a team of professionals, because I, as an individual, cannot do a lot of the things that I recommend people to do.
Okay.
You need a team to do that.
Right. So you're involved in business for 20 years, decided to change your approach, and then put together a team.
Yes, it evolved. It was not a sudden transformation. And I'm still changing, still learning things.
So you're still evolving.
Still evolving. You know, it's a fascinating industry, the financial service industry. But it's a shame that only 2 or 3 or 5% make it big.
5%.
That's it.
So
become wealthy.
So what are the other 95% doing?
Well, it's only lack of information. It's not lack of smarts. You know, the good Lord, when you're a baby, makes you a genius, and that genius is destroyed by your parents. You go to school, the teacher is mediocre. The teachers make you mediocre. And then you go out in the industry, and they box you, put you into, they put parameters, what you can do, what you can't do. However, now that you're an adult, you can undo the damage that has been done, and you cannot blame your parents, teachers, society for any of your limitations.
Right. How do you undo it? Because given what you're saying, it sounds as though we've all been somewhat abused.
Yeah. Well, everyone has been, including myself. But you know what? The good news is today you can educate yourself, and you can undo the damage that has been done. But this takes time. Okay. The wealthy people pay little or no tax. The poor don't have tax to pay. It's the middle class and upper middle class that's carrying the burden of the 3 levels of government.
So the guys in the middle are basically feeding both sides. They're feeding the guys who can't afford and the guys who can.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, you're saying that the guys in the middle are taking care of the guys who can't afford to pay?
Well, indirectly they do take care of.
Really?
Yeah. And you know, when I said that the wealthy pay little or no tax, I don't mean that they cheat the government. They do not cheat the government. However, they spend a lot of time to learn how to keep what they make. The vast majority, they work hard, they'll do overtime, they put their money to work hard, and the harder they work and the harder their money works, the more taxes they pay. So I say, please stop making the next dollar and learn how to keep what you make.
Wow. So the average person is on a treadmill.
Well, yeah, inadvertently they are. They don't even realize that life is passing them by when they could have become wealthy. The average person can become wealthy.
The average person?
Average person.
Really? Because you know, we hear a lot about wealth. There's a lot of theories. Everyone's got some sort of theory. You know, you can marry it. You could win the lottery. That's what the average person. Most of my friends, I talk to them about wealth. Hey, Colin, do you want any lottery tickets? And I'm like, no. Unless I'm selling it, I'm not buying it. Right? and they give me some sort of strange look. And most people, they think about wealth from that perspective. If I put my $5 down, and then I'm going to win 20 million. And I always tell people, look, the day when the jackpot's at its highest is actually when you shouldn't be buying, because everyone else is doing the same thing, right? So you're actually decreasing your possibilities.
Absolutely. And in fact, if anybody wins the jackpot and makes money fast, he loses it as fast as he made it. When you build it through knowledge, then it stays with you.
Right. So you're saying that the average person out there, just on that treadmill that we just talked about a second ago, if they acquire the right knowledge, they can put themselves in a position where they can cancel those lottery tickets and create their own lottery.
Absolutely. In fact, most people don't know how money works, and that's the reason they don't try to acquire knowledge. But I'll give you a very simple example. Somebody paying $20,000 of income tax, that tax could be reduced to $6,000.
Sorry, Ray.
And 14,000.
I'm going to interrupt you right there. And I'm not. Okay. I want to make sure my math. I'm pretty weak in math. So I want to make sure my comprehension is good.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, I'm paying 20 grand a year in taxes. You're telling me that I could reduce 20 to 6.
To 6.
So what's happening to the 14?
Well, now that's where that 14,000 that you're paying to the government, if it is again properly deployed in the right type of investments, to be frank, it could be real estate, which has got great growth of potential, that within 20 years' time, that 13,000 a year could grow to over $6 million. So you could become a millionaire, multi-millionaire, just by reducing your taxes alone, without getting a penny raise in salary.
I'm going to hold you to that. I want you to go in detail as we go through the show. But I also hear you got some really interesting information on mortgages. Can you give me a taste of that?
Yeah, well, when it comes to mortgages, it's funny, people will shop around to buy a house.
Correct.
A $300,000 home, it's a big purchase, and they'll do a lot of shopping around. Yet, the mortgage that they take over the next 20 years could be $600,000 or $900,000,
Okay.
and they don't shop around for
Wait a
their
minute.
mortgage.
So the average person is, once again, let's touch on the math. Simple math. Okay, a $300,000 mortgage.
Yeah,
Over time, they're paying $900,000.
$600,000 to $900,000.
So okay, so the worst case scenario, the best case scenario is $600,000.
Yes.
But nonetheless, they're still paying twice of the value of the mortgage.
Yeah, that's normal. They know that, but they don't shop around for that.
So, but why aren't we protesting?
Well,
Because I mean,
you know, frankly,
it sounds ridiculous. When you stop and think about it.
it is ridiculous because they almost thank the bank or the financial institution that approved the mortgage. They thank them for it instead of shopping around.
Okay, so you've just taken my shirt, but I want to thank you for it.
That's exactly it.
Am I missing the point here?
No, you're not missing. You got it right. Now, hopefully with this show, people recognize that they need to learn how to have a simple interest mortgage instead of a compound interest mortgage and save themselves 7, 8, 10 years of payments, which is a lot of money,
So you're chopping off 10 years of payments there.
10 years of payments.
Does this happen, Ray? Is this some sort of fragment of your imagination? Does it really exist?
We're doing it every day in our office.
Every day?
For clients who come to find out how.
Really?
It's only a matter of time. I mean, they don't have to pay for the service because we are paid well by the financial institutions for the simple interest mortgage.
Okay. So this service is free?
It costs the consumer nothing, zero.
What are you running, a charity, Ray?
No, we get paid by the financial institutions even if we send them business, which is a simple interest mortgage.
Really?
Yes,
So there's no out-of-pocket expense?
no out-of-pocket expenses.
All right, so Ray, we're going to go for a quick break. I mean, you've piqued my interest on several fronts there. When we come back, I want us to talk more about taxes. I want to touch on mortgages and teach me how I can beat a house against being the reckless gambler that I used to be.
Okay,
All right,
fair enough.
great. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back right here on What's Going On.